Daniel Mullen, welcome to the show.
I'm honored to be here, Finn. I'm a big fan of your work and what you've done with your passion, which is pretty niche. I feel like a lot of people make excuses about, I can't make a living out of BMX or out of fashion. I'm just going to go get a job at a dental hygienist position or in a law firm. And you've managed to monetize your passion for music and you've done it damn well. So it's cool to see from the outside, dude.
Well, it's same to you. I make more. I watched the interview you did with Adam on No Jumper, which is awesome. Both of us make more doing our dumb bullshit on the internet than I did working for Abercrombie and Fitch. I make 4 times more now than I did when I was working for Abercrombie as a designer. On brands making billions of dollars a year. I make 4 times more doing this bullshit on YouTube than I did then.
I could have seen you as being one of the shirtless boy whores that stand out front. I didn't think designer, but okay.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I wasn't cut out for that. But yeah, I mean, it's true, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, because aside from being funny, I think you're actually really insightful. As I was telling everybody about you earlier, and I said, yes, he is a thoughtless, obnoxious asshole, but at the same time, he's also a very thoughtful, insightful person at the same time, and I think that's an interesting combination. Like, my wife was like, "Who is this guy?" And I was like, "Well, he's kind of like if Trevor Wallace was an asshole."
Yeah, if Trevor Wallace walked around the Las Vegas Strip with 240s, yelling nonsense at everybody who walked by, I guess that would be me.
Yeah. Well, how do you describe yourself to people? Is it comedy, pranks, or how do you describe it?
I don't know. I mean, I started out wanting to be a comedy writer, but the demands of having to put out a YouTube video every week make you get out of your comfort zone. Just like with you started out doing mini documentaries essentially on various trends in music, straight edge or the mall emo thing that happened in the early 2000s. But I'm sure at some point you realized I've kind of said my bit on what's going on,
Yeah.
or maybe I've got more to say, but I don't know if I can say something profound weekly or bi-weekly. I'm going to start vlogging my life a little bit. And that's what happened to me. It went from very scripted comedy. I wanted to be a writer on The Simpsons or on The Office or something like that, to me having to go out into the street and be the star of my own little sitcom, or not even sitcom, my own little unscripted reality show. So it's hard to narrow down what I do. Whatever I think is funny and interesting, I go out and shoot that in public every week.
When did you realize that being a writer was not going to happen? I mean, not that it couldn't, but you sort of decided, all right, I'm going to not pursue that.
I think maybe I decided to not do that for the same reasons that you decided to leave Abercrombie. And am I correct in saying that your wife, didn't she leave Amazon?
Mm-hmm.
She left the corporate world too. At some point, and especially now, you realize that to exist in a corporate environment, you pretty much, I mean, you have to guard everything you say.
Yes,
it's very
especially
1984 Big Brother. You really can't have your own personality. You have to be worried about anything you tweeted out in 2012 that might not be up to HR standards at Amazon or Abercrombie and Fitch. And that scared the hell out of me, having to be a fake person and never let my guard down in the workplace. So that's what dissuaded me from going and being a Hollywood writer, where the political correctness is probably at its worst.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The self-righteous smugness.
Yeah.
It would just be unfucking bearable to be in a room with those people, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah. And it's not even that they're leaning left on the political spectrum.
No. It's the smugness and yeah, exactly. You can think what you want. It's just the way that they express it is so smarmy and just disgustingly douchey.
Sure. And it feels so robotic. It feels like they're programmed to send out like an anti-Trump tweet at noon every day, and to post something about Bernie Sanders every night before going to bed. It feels so inauthentic too.
Right. Well, I mean, especially knowing what we know now about what shitbags so many of those people are. you
Yeah.
know? It's like,
Everybody's a shitbag on all sides. And the fact that one political side pretends they aren't, or that they're better than everybody else, is ridiculous.
yeah, exactly. Everyone's a shitbag. What I don't like about it is that when you're working for someone else, and to be clear, I think it's totally valid to work for someone else if you want to, and depending on where you're at in life, I'm glad I did. But what I don't like about it at this point in my life is that there's a ceiling to your success. Like, so no matter how good of a job you do, so like at a corporation, if you do a really, really, really good job, like if you fucking knock it out of the park, like, well, Danny, really excited to offer you a 5% raise this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like 5%?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're making $72,000 and you're 45 years old, what is that going to
Yeah,
bump you up to? 73.5?
right. Like, really?
Yeah.
That's 5% for fucking generating tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in value for this
Mm-hmm.
company, and I
Yeah.
get $3,500. Gee, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially at a big company. I suppose if you get in early somewhere and you're one of the first 5 or 10 guys in, then it's different. That's
But
a
then,
better
yeah,
place to
but
be an
then
employee.
it's you're building a thing that you own, which is more similar to what we're
Mhm.
you own a part of, which is
Mhm.
more similar to what we're doing,
Mhm.
and that's the part I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
Um,
There's also a lot of pressure that comes with being the number one guy, though, the guy who all
mhm.
the pressure falls upon. Like I was just talking about, I just got off the phone with my attorney and my head is still spinning. The complexity. I mean, on top of the struggles of just getting my content out every week, I now have to go meet with my accountant. I have to go to Bank of America and make sure my credit cards are split up so my business and my personal expenses don't cross over, because that could mean a big lawsuit. Stressful to be the number one guy, too.
Yes, it is, and there's nobody to pass the buck to. If you fuck something up, um, or your channel gets deleted, you can't call the marketing department
Yeah.
or the attorney and ask for help. It's like,
Yeah.
it's on you. There's
Yeah.
there's no safety net,
You totally.
which freaks me out sometimes. And maybe I should be more chill about it. But I don't think people understand that. People who don't
Mhm.
work for themselves, I don't think they understand. That the gun is at your head like that all the time, and that's I don't know if that's, it's like anything else. It's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, I'm happy to have that because it's a
Mhm.
forcing function that really makes me like dig deep and
Mhm.
find a way to do what I want to do. On the
Mhm.
other hand, it like literally keeps me up at night. So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I had that problem a lot too. And I'm sure more so than you, because your content compared to mine, the CEO of YouTube could stumble across your channel and be like, oh, this is cute, but I'm
right.
sure she would hate my guts. That's the
I'm
difference.
certain
So,
of that.
so I've definitely struggled with that. And I think you just need to stay positive about it, because if you obsess over everything that could possibly go wrong when you're an entrepreneur, you're not going to be able to sleep at night, and you're probably going to get cancer or something from all that stress. You just have to be positive and assume that if you do the right things, things are going to work out. And even if you or I got kicked off YouTube, I'm optimistic, and that I think you and I would still find a way to make it happen. We would have a Spotify and iTunes podcast. We would have our own website. We would have just our Instagram and Twitter presence. If you're good and you refuse to take no for an answer, you're going to be successful. That's my opinion.
Yep. Yep. I think that's right. And if that doesn't sound fun to you, then you should go work for somebody else, because when you work for someone else, you have one job and they want you to stay in that lane and do your thing. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as you do a good job at that, nobody expects you to put out every fire that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Most creators, I noticed this in your interview with Adam also, that you think of yourself as an entrepreneur and a business owner, which I think is kind of unusual for creators. Most people don't.
I don't remember that interview. I was very hungover, so that's I,
Well, it happened.
I guess that's an innocent thing I said. I said I was an entrepreneur. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you said it in another one. I don't know, but I noticed that about you, which is not common. Have you always thought that way, or did that switch flip at some point, or what makes you think that way?
Um, I think it was just the virtue of this job. You have to start thinking like an entrepreneur when you realize that, especially for my videos, hey, I don't get ad revenue off of these.
I was going to ask, so you must get demonetized a lot.
Yeah, occasionally they'll slip through the net, my videos, but I realized pretty quickly that if I wanted to make money on YouTube, I was going to have to learn the ins and outs of merch and Patreon, or I was going to have to keep wiping down tables at my busboy job. So I just,
Wow. So you basically just assume you're going to make $0 off ads.
yeah, but my stuff is pretty unique on the internet. So people like it enough that they'll contribute on Patreon and with merch. And a lot of people have very bland content, like the teen TikTok niche. I mean, it's interchangeable. Fucking Josh Richards or what Blake Hall or whatever these kids' names are. I can't even keep track. Those guys, it's all the same content. Nobody has that deep of a connection. So they just get paid off AdSense. And I'm not sure that they can make that much money off Patreon. But you and I, it's such a specific niche and such a tight community we have that that's a very lucrative business model for us.
Right. Yeah. The like narrow and deep versus wide but shallow.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of music, again, maybe you don't remember this, but on that No Jumper interview, I liked it a lot. You had some bold opinions about music that
I don't remember giving those. So please enlighten me.
Well, let's talk about ska.
I don't remember anything I said about ska. Did I say it sucks because there are horns and guys in suspenders?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay, I agree with that.
I had no idea how angry ska fans are. I think I made some pretty innocuous jokes about how obviously ridiculous ska is, and like somebody called me racist because I don't like Real Big Fish.
What? Are they all white?
As far as I remember.
Yeah, this is what it comes down to, Finn. If you're not playing a style of music that's going to get you laid at the lowest level, because you can't count on being a major label act. If you can't go to a coffee shop or a local small venue and get laid off what you're doing on stage, you're in the wrong genre. And ska does not get you laid.
I mean, I'm sure it's happened.
Ska chicks? They're probably actually hot. They're probably really hot.
I'm sure it's happened. You know, I imagine, you know, we want to imagine that they look like Gwen Stefani. I think it's maybe more like what's her name? Flo from Progressive.
Yes, absolutely.
That's maybe, but you know, that's okay.
I'm imagining Kate Perry with a polka dotted bikini top and big glasses. That's like me. That's the ideal ska fan that I'm imagining in my head.
It's just odd to me that a genre of music that is so obviously ridiculous and bad would have such angry, intense, aggressive fans.
You've faced the wrath of the ska fans, huh?
Yeah, I had no idea. You know, like I made a video talking shit about black metal, and I was not surprised that, you know, I got lots of hateful, angry comments about that one because it's black metal.
You're so respectful in all your videos. I watch a lot of your videos, and I feel like you don't really talk shit about anything.
Well, you know, the reason why is because just because I know a lot of people, there's a 90% chance that the person I'm talking about in the video, like if they're in a band, is going to watch it.
Yeah.
Or that somebody I know knows them and will send it to them or something like that. And so I don't want to say anything in a video that I wouldn't say to that person's face.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to, I'm not going to, it's a little bit, and sometimes that means I have to muzzle. Well, I don't have to, but sometimes that means I choose to muzzle myself a little bit. Sure.
I totally can relate to that. It's another thing that the average person can't relate to. And it's another thing we have to navigate as semi-public figures is I've said a lot of stuff into a microphone on a podcast that has gotten me in trouble with my family, with roommates, with my girlfriend.
I'm shocked.
You dudes who play bass in metal bands, it happens. Yeah. You're shocked, huh?
I'm absolutely shocked. Like before this, we were watching your iPhone blackface video.
Oh yeah, that one's pretty gnarly.
Where you were, it is, but you know, this is what I like about your content is that was meta. That was not the joke. There isn't blackface is funny.
Yeah,
the joke is these fucking brain dead people were willing to go on camera, sign a fucking model release with blackface on after they realized they had been had.
Yeah.
They still signed the fucking release. That's the joke.
Yeah. And that was one of my most antisocial videos in terms of pissing other people in the space off, which is sort of on the subject that we're talking about right now.
You went in on a bunch of those other prank YouTubers.
Yeah, and I've since backed off of that. I've since realized I don't really have the temperament to be the Conor McGregor of YouTube and just call out everything I don't like and speak my mind at all times. Yeah, in that video, I'm attacking the genre of YouTuber who just, and this is super specific, I doubt much of your audience is going to be familiar with it, but guys who just walk around college campuses flirting with girls, videos that take 30 minutes to film. Yeah, just like the trying to capture the college audience while still staying brand friendly niche on YouTube I just laid into.
I mean, it's barely content.
Agreed.
Stuff they make.
Agreed, dude.
It's like you said, the one guy who's just talking to the dude on the beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's there's like, you thought that, like, of the 5 hours of footage that you shot, this was like, oh yeah, man, ship that. That's it.
Oh, what is that guy? That was epic. I forget that guy's YouTube channel name.
Even just that's a YouTube channel name that's going to sound great in 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in 10 years, the three of us are probably all going to look at our bank statements, and you and I are going to want to kill ourselves compared to that guy. So he might get the last laugh.
We're like those super blatantly fake like unboxing videos. Like, what's those two twins?
Oh, dude, I don't know. About? I don't know about that one.
There's these two twins that do these unboxing videos. That
how old are they?
Like, probably, I don't know, 20 or something.
Okay.
That they'll claim, but their audience, it's for like 9-year-olds. They're like, we ordered, they say everything like they're, on math. They're like, we ordered this surprise package off of the dark web, and they said there were 10 iPhones inside. Let's open it up and see what it is.
It's just complete nonsense. They got their neighbor to drop off a cardboard box with some stuff that they'd planted in that cardboard box.
Yeah, and it's like they don't even really try to hide how fake it is because their audience is literally in 3rd grade, and every video has fucking 4 million views.
It's insane. And another guy I'll go after, who I respect as a businessman, but as a content creator, he's in that same vein that you just described, is Mr. Beast, dude. We've done 2 videos at Slab City, which is the alleged city with no laws in California. I've gone there twice and basically risked my life on both occasions to get content there. He did a 24-hour challenge in Slab City, Mr. Beast. And they get there. They don't even interact with any of the locals who, by the way, are meth heads, typically armed with knives and tomahawks, or at the very least, a hepatitis-ridden hypodermic needle.
Like Mad Max.
Absolutely.
Fallout.
Yes. It's a post-apocalyptic enclave in California, but he interacts with none of these people. And if I remembering correctly, he claims that somebody in his squad got a stomach ache at 8 p.m. and they arrived, I think, at 3:37 p.m. So they were there for like an afternoon. And the title of the video is 24-hour survival challenge in Slab City. They leave at 8 p.m. I mean, the video should be fucking taken down for false advertising, but that's just how Mr. Beast makes content. And the thumbs up, thumbs down ratio is nauseatingly positive, and it makes me hate the platform sometimes.
Do you ever wonder, and this might sound incredibly douchey and arrogant for me to say, but sometimes I wonder, is my content too good?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a serious thing to consider, because if you're putting in 80 hours a week to make a video and you're reaching the point of burnout, maybe you do have to, especially if your views and your merch sales aren't doing that well. I've had to reconsider and be like, maybe I need to focus more on the business side of things, on whether that be making my videos reach a new audience through getting on TikTok or Twitter or Instagram, or whether that's upping my merchandise output. And this is something that you balance really, really well. I was watching your thumbnail optimization video, or one you did on that subject recently, and you break things down much more technically than I do. But to get back to your original question, yeah, that thought comes to your head when you put out something that you think is the best work you've done and it underperforms. It can get frustrating, but Finn, I think long-term, that's a good problem to have, because I think that's what's going to keep that dedicated audience.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of slumps and algorithm adjustments done by YouTube, things we have no control over. I think just putting out good content is a good insurance policy to make sure that you can continue making a living.
But don't you ever just ask yourself, why don't I just go make a video of me saying hi to girls for half an hour?
But the thing
collect $5,000 in ad revenue and go home.
Well, the thing is, Finn, like, what if you and I did that? And I don't know what your version of that would be maybe covering John Mayer songs.
Or
If
like it'd be like 10 surprising facts about Slipknot.
I mean that doesn't sound too bad. I'd watch that video.
See?
I'd fucking watch it.
Exactly.
But like, I mean,
I'm trying too hard.
if you were really doing videos that you hated, and I was doing videos that I hated, we wouldn't be able to weather the natural ups and downs of this business, because something people don't realize is that views, for a large part, are out of your control.
Yeah.
I mean, views are seasonal. There are up and down seasons in views. I don't care how good your thumbnail is, how strong your title is. It'll help if you're doing a really good job in that regard. But sometimes views are just fucking down and things are just tough. And if you hate what you're doing and you don't believe in it, I do not think you'll be able to get through that winter.
Yeah. I kind of had one of those moments in whatever June or July or something like that. Whenever things started reopening again, my views went down like 20%, and it sucks. But people don't want to be inside on YouTube. They want to be out doing shit.
Yeah. For me, it was sort of the opposite. This spring was my downtime. Like, I had a bad spring, and then as summer started, it started kicking back up again. I don't know.
But you just got to get through those things. And, like you said, if this is something you're really, truly passionate about and you really believe in,
yeah,
it's like, well, I have no choice but to just keep going because this is what I do.
Yeah.
And, anybody I really think people underestimate how much of a grind this stuff is. I'm not saying this, obviously this is not working in the coal mine. I did printing for like 6 years, which is horrible, awful work. You've, been, shitty, pulling the puke out of the urinal,
Yes.
jobs and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
This is way better than those jobs.
Yeah.
But I do think people underestimate, what a grind it can be.
Sure. And that's something I've had to prioritize, man, because I'm not sure how long you've been on YouTube, but for me, it's just over 4 years now. And
the same for me.
4 years, damn, dude. I didn't realize you've been on so long. I thought you were sort of a recent phenomenon. You started popping up in my recommended, like, maybe last year.
Well, I sucked for a while, so
yeah, so did I. But a lot of those videos still got views, even though they were awful. What were we talking about?
Oh, just the grind.
The grind, yeah. Having come up on the 4-year mark, I'm starting to realize that we're in this for the long haul, as I'm sure you've realized too. I used to have this mindset that any single video I put out could potentially get 1 million views and change my life. It could be the video that blew up. And if I let off the gas at any point, my mindset was that the next video could drop down to 5,000 views.
Yep.
And my income that month could go back down to $700. And I'm starting to realize more and more that, okay, I belong here. I have a fan base and I have a talent that is economically feasible, and that my approach should be a little more long-term, meaning I need to be happier on a day in, day out basis so that I don't end up in an asylum somewhere, or I don't pick up a gnarly drinking problem. So I really have this year, I prioritized reading a lot of self-help books and meditating and staying healthy and picking up a hobby again, just in order to not burn out and not feel like I'm on this hamster wheel grind.
I feel in some ways more anxious than I did when I wasn't making any money and didn't have any traction, because it's like, oh God, I built this thing. Like, I got what I wanted. Now I have to make sure it doesn't fall apart.
Sure. Yeah. I went through that totally. It's just, you can't keep living like that though, dude. It's just going to be miserable when even on your day off, like I take Sunday off.
You have days off?
I take a day off. You don't take any days off?
Sounds amazing.
You don't take any days off?
No, because I have a whole other like company that I'm part of besides YouTube, so it keeps me pretty busy.
I know you're doing your main channel, then you do a consulting business, right? Is that what you're talking about?
So I'm part of a company called the URM Academy. We teach people how to record and mix music.
Okay, that's totally different.
Yeah, totally different. Basically do like all, operational kind of stuff there. Help, run the customer support team and get the website built and all that kind of stuff. Totally different. I've been doing that for like 5 years now.
Sure.
So yeah, no days off, but that's okay. I like all the stuff I'm doing.
Are you going to get rid of that gig and just go to YouTube full time when it's viable?
No, if anything, I would do the opposite.
Mhm.
Because I'm actually more passionate about building businesses than I am about YouTube or music.
Hmm.
I never expected to be this successful on YouTube. So if
Hmm.
I had to choose, I would rather be building a technology business than I would make videos about Slipknot.
Or Avenged Sevenfold or My Chemical
Yeah, I mean,
Romance, which
I'm very
videos I've
grateful for
enjoyed.
it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for it, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
gun to my head, if I had to choose,
Sure.
I would choose that.
That's
I don't,
important, man.
the older I get, especially, I don't. I'm grateful for attention, but I don't. I definitely don't seek it out exactly. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. You realize pretty quickly. I think we all had these fantasies when we were in high school and in our 20s that it'd be cool to be famous and to get recognized on the street and to occasionally have a girl direct message you. But then when these things start happening and when you have attention and an audience, you realize that, I mean, it's still basically just a job and this attention is just part of the job.
And
Like,
I'm very grateful for it.
yeah,
Don't get me wrong.
it's cool, but you realize that getting off on the attention is a path to not good things pretty
Yes.
quickly. And you just,
I'm grateful for it, but I'm not addicted to it like I think some people appear to be.
mm,
You know, like you see some of these people in these reality shows that, their life is clearly spiraling out of control and it's
mhm.
all happening on TV, and they're like, but I have to do blah blah blah. I'm like, well, no, you don't. You could just stop doing any of this anytime.
Yeah,
You could just quit the show.
yeah. Well, assuming they have some money saved up, which I
But
doubt.
even if they don't, like
Yeah,
if it's just like completely destroying your sanity,
yeah, totally. Yeah,
you don't have to do this. And
yeah,
especially people who are rich already, like the Kardashians or something. It's
yeah,
like you're clearly addicted to fame, or
yeah,
else you would have quit a long time ago, because I sure would have.
yeah, absolutely. That's, to me, that's the supreme goal, is just to get to the amount of money where you can do literally anything you want from that point on. The freedom, like the mental freedom that would provide, seems so juicy to me.
Yep.
And like I don't understand people like John Belushi or like a guy you just talked about in one of your recent videos, Chester from Lincoln Park. It's crazy to me that people who are so wealthy, and if they were sad, they could literally just go start playing golf or go learn about archery. You can go fishing every day. You can do anything. And I want to reach that point so badly, but I guess that's kind of foolish on my part because clearly it doesn't solve all of your problems.
It doesn't, but if a lot of people listening to or watching this probably grew up poor, and you know that not having money definitely sucks.
Yeah.
I grew up on welfare, single mother and all that stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I've worried about money my whole life, even though now I don't really have to. I think I probably always will,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's like ingrained in my character to like be worried and always feel like the other shoe's about to drop and something bad's going to happen. And like I have to, I don't know, hoard is the right word, but it's like,
Yeah.
I have more money now than I ever thought I would in my life. It's not like, anything crazy by the standards of people who are actually rich, but it's more than I ever thought. I mean,
Yeah.
considering that until I was like in my 30s, I never even had 10 grand in the bank,
Mm-hmm.
until I was like 34 or something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yeah. Same, dude.
know?
I was always negative $2,000 in debt because that was the limit on my credit card for my entire 20s.
Exactly. So to, have more have more than $0. Like I remember at one point my goal was, I was like, "Oh, by the time I'm 40, I want my net worth to be zero." Literally, because I owed so much money for like student loans and stuff, and like I had so much debt. I was like, "Man, that would be amazing just to have a net worth of zero."
Have you achieved this goal?
Oh yeah. No, we're good now.
Finn Mckenty is worth $5 USD.
Exactly. Well, Canadian, but
Sorry. No.
yeah.
What's that? That's like $3.
Yeah.
American.
Yeah. Is there a number that you have in mind that you could live off of interest income, or?
Yeah, my goal right now, because I really believe in goal setting and auto suggestion and a lot of hocus pocus stuff I've picked up from various books. The goal I have written down right now is to have $1.5 million invested wisely in index funds, just
That's my goal too.
very
That exact
unsafe.
number.
That exact number. Yeah, my goal is in is August 8th, 2023 to have that figure.
Okay.
And I find value in being really aggressive about goal setting, but you have to be somewhat realistic, because for a while that number I had written down was 10 million and I couldn't get myself to believe it in that
Right.
short of a time frame. So I've since scaled it back. But yeah, $1.5 million just living off the interest from that minus taxes is about 70 grand a year, which is a good
Yep.
spot. But even if you just don't touch that 70 grand and you just work at fucking Quiznos, that money is going to double roughly every 10 years. So yeah,
Yep.
it's long story short, it's a good place to be in.
Yep. Yep. I'm with you. That's where I'm at too. It's interesting that you're talking about goal setting, because that's a thing I've had to really work on with myself a lot, is setting higher goals. Because, growing up the way I did, which it's not some awful sob story. There's lots of other people who, grew up way worse than I did, but
It sounds like it's going to make you not make terrible financial decisions because you value money so much. It sounds like that's the positive.
that's the positive. But the negative is that it's made me sort of doubt that certain things are possible, that are
Yeah.
like the idea of having $1 million,
Mhm.
like at one point would have seemed laughable to me. Now
Yeah.
I know that it's totally attainable.
Yeah.
But I've really had to push myself to like think bigger. I mean, even just like with YouTube, I for a while I was like, oh well, I'll probably only be able to do this for another year or two before people don't care about me anymore and nobody cares, and then whatever, that's fine. But now I'm trying to flip the switch and go, well, no, why can't I do this forever?
Yeah.
I enjoy this. I'm making a lot of money at it. Like,
hmm
why can't I do it forever? There's no rule.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, man. It just something I guess it was in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Thoughts are things and the universe responds to them, both thoughts of riches and thoughts of poverty. You make your own reality. God has not determined your destiny. You make it as you go. And your thoughts are every bit as real as the tree and the fire hydrant in front of your house. And you determine your own life's path. If you think it's possible for you to stay on YouTube and continue making money and make $1 million, it's possible. If you don't believe it's going to happen, and more than 50% of the time you're thinking about how it's all going to come crashing down, it's all going to come crashing down.
Yep. Yep. I think of it as that you will get what you want, but what you want is expressed by your actions, not your thoughts.
Yeah.
Like just like you were grinding away, toiling, trying to make,
Mhm.
something out of this comedy thing. It
Mhm.
isn't, it didn't work out the way you thought it would,
Yeah.
but it did work out because you never stopped
Yeah.
putting effort into it.
I will say that I totally agree that working really hard is important, and I work my ass off now. But with the mental thing, I remember in 2016 and 2015, I was still working really, really hard at comedy and trying to make it happen. And I was in the lowest point of my life. I lost a restaurant job. I was struggling to find another one. I was living in San Francisco. It was a particularly rainy winter. I mean, I was borderline suicidal. And that's when I wasn't reading. I didn't know much about goal setting or how to run my mind. And it just seemed like no matter how much work I did, I was not getting results. And when I started reading and when I started understanding the things I just mentioned, goal setting, meditation, how to think correctly, it was amazing how fast things turned around in my life. And it still moved in increments. It wasn't like I all of a sudden was cashing 6-figure checks,
Right.
but suddenly I had an audience online. And then the next thing I knew, I was able to pay my bills. I wasn't able to save any money, but I was able to pay my bills. And now, much like you said earlier, I have more money than I ever imagined I could have. And you look back and you're like, holy fuck, running your mind the right way works. And it needs to happen in tandem with hard work. Otherwise, you're not going to get where you want to get to.
I think it's a really gross thing right now that there's people who are like, anytime we say stuff like this, I'm sure there's people in chat right now saying how, oh, that must be nice. And well, I can't do that because blah, blah, blah. There's this real sort of narrative that, oh, you're doomed, so don't
Yeah.
even try.
Yeah.
And I hate that because I know it's not true. And, people will talk about privilege and stuff like that. All right, fine. But you cannot change the circumstances of your birth. They are what they are. And first of all, I'd say anybody who's born an able-bodied person in the West with a fucking smartphone
Yeah.
won the lottery.
Yeah.
you got all the privilege in the world, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you can't change the circumstances of your birth. All you can change is the actions that you take based on the cards that you've been dealt.
Totally.
So it seems to me that these are people who want to make excuses and would rather focus on the reasons why they can't do something rather than take action to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, the influences the average person has are so bad. I mean, you go to college and every professor tells you that capitalism in America is evil and that certain people in society have no shot at success. And then the media is trying to scare the shit out of you. Don't leave your house. The Delta variant. Joe Biden is telling you that you're a downtrodden little poor baby and you need the government money. It's just, I mean, in school, you don't have any strong influences. In most young people's lives, they don't have the positive philosophies that we're talking about right now. They don't have access to them, or they do. They just don't go out there and find them. And I totally agree with you, man. You just got to make a decision at some point. Do I want to be miserable and broke and just wither up and die when I'm 55 from a heart attack? Or do I want to at least give living life in the way I dream of a shot?
Yeah. What really did it for me is, do you know the book Extreme Ownership?
Yes, by Jocko Willink.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I haven't read that one because that one was more business oriented. Yeah. I read Discipline Equals Freedom, I believe, which is like the picture book one. But it's great. Well, it was great.
Yeah, but I mean, you read Think and Grow Rich and Seneca and stuff, so you're not the dumb comedy guy.
Sometimes I don't know if you've seen all of my catalog. There's some dumb ones in there.
It was weird to me because nothing in that book. Like, there's nothing in that book I didn't already know, but there's something about just the way that he put it and the time in my life or whatever. I read that book and I got this weird sense after reading. I was like, oh, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And
doesn't mean it's going to be easy or that it's going to happen overnight, but I was like, if it's a choice on my part, if I want to have the life, if I want to build a business doing X, Y, and Z, I can just do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, dude, you have to constantly be re-exposed to that message. Like you said, you knew that, but it had faded out of the forefront of your mind. And you'd probably started to dip into that woe is me. The world is evil. I can't get by. You probably started to slip into that mindset. That's why a lot of people that I look up to recommend that you have to read something uplifting and inspirational for at least 30 minutes a day. I do it constantly. I'm reading business books, self-help books. Every morning when I wake up, I have a routine just to get back on that mindset. I don't even want to waste a single day slipping back into our old way of thinking.
I make a very conscious effort not to consume content and media and stuff that's gonna put me on that negative mental pathway. And sometimes I notice myself doing it. I'm listening to some show, reading. I'm like I used to read a lot of stuff that would make me mad, politics and current events. I'm like, oh, can you believe blah, blah, blah? Like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy did that. And I was like, wait a minute, why the fuck am I wasting this is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough balance to find. I don't think I found it yet because we have a podcast and we should have some knowledge of current events. And I find myself reading the LA Times because it's local to where I live and it might be useful for the videos I shoot. But it makes me so angry because not only is it a mainstream newspaper, which is not going to get any clicks or any views unless every story scares the shit out of you, but it also has the typical brainwashed California left-wing bent. So I'm constantly aggravating myself by reading that. So I don't know what the solution is.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't want to bury your head in the sand and just ignore the world, but if there's something important, we'll find out about it.
Yeah.
Do we need to get a blow-by-blow account of everything that the politicians said on Twitter today? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true. It's so true, especially with politics. I mean, if big, widespread things that are happening, but you're so right. Like, I mean, if everybody in the United States is going to be held down by FBI agents and given forcefully the vaccine, we're going to find out about that, whether or not we're flipping through the paper every day.
Whether the governor of Nebraska said something stupid about vaccines last Tuesday.
Yeah.
And do we need to read 5 think pieces dissecting all his tweets about it?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, it's a good point, man.
Yeah.
It's still something I'm figuring out. I'm new enough to the podcasting world where I don't really know where my voice is and the direction of my show.
Well, that's, I think that's like a thing that we have to, it's a muscle we have to build, is like, how do you interact with the world such that you can do your job, but still look out for your mental health? And,
Yeah.
music is super negative too.
Yeah.
At least rock is, like, people are, I mean, I talk about this all the time in my videos. These rock people are so nasty and negative, and like all the music, the lyrics and shit are so negative and nasty that it does affect my mental health sometimes. I can tell sometimes. It's just like wearing a backpack full of bricks sometimes.
Dude, I'm wearing the original Clash album shirt right now, and it's one of my favorite albums ever, but I had to stop listening to it at one point because there are so many songs on this album about just being poor and being hopeless. And I was listening to it a lot right when I was getting my YouTube channel off the ground. And I realized this is probably not the best motivational soundtrack to have in my ears. Career opportunities, the one that never knocked.
Gotta go listen to some Hatebreed.
I haven't watched too many of your Hatebreed videos. What's that going to tell me?
Hatebreed is like if Extreme Ownership was a hardcore band.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's great. It's like Tony Robbins or Jocko, but it sounds like, Throwdown.
Dude, I'm fucking down. We're on Twitch, right? I probably am gonna get banned for swearing. I apologize.
I think you can swear. I think that's okay. I swear all the time. I haven't been banned yet.
Okay, well, it's probably coming if you keep having me on. One of your videos that I really, really love is anything that has to do with the emo explosion in the early 2000s, because I'm 31. I was born in 1989, and I wasn't one of those music nerd kids. I didn't have hip parents who had Simon and Garfunkel and Led Zeppelin 3 playing on vinyl in the living room when I was 5 years old. So I first got into music when I heard the really hooky, catchy songs by My Chemical Romance and Taking Back Sunday. That was my musical coming of age period. And you've done a lot of videos on that time, and I appreciate that.
Well, I have a soft spot for that too. I was a little bit older, but still, that was like, because I'm like the same age as the people in all those bands, and that was interesting to me because that was people that I knew or were friends of friends were like becoming like famous celebrities. Like Pete Wentz was in bands with my friends, and I remember seeing him at shows and stuff back in the day, and then I see him on Perez Hilton with Ashley Simpson. I'm like, wow, this is wild. He used to be in this like hardcore band called Extinction. Pete from Extinction married Ashley Simpson. What is happening?
Where was he based out of? Where was he playing?
Chicago. Extinction was from Indiana, but he's from Chicago.
I've talked about this a couple of times, but I remember being in high school and getting mad when from the senior square at our high school where all the cool kids hung out, I would hear playing out of the speakers a Fall Out Boy album. They would just, the jocks and the cheerleaders would play a Fall Out Boy record, like their first record from start to finish. And I would be like, Fall Out Boy fucking sucks, dude. Mike Hem for life. And I thought it was,
that's so much more credible.
Exactly. I thought it was so lame they were listening to that. And now I hear the music that is popular amongst the high schoolers, and I'm exposed to it, I suppose, through TikTok or whatever. Yeah. And I'm just like, holy shit. It was a miracle that anybody in high school at my age was listening to something as good as Fall Out Boy's first record. It's gotten so much worse, and I didn't even appreciate it. I like that album now.
When I was in high school, the football players listened to Korn and Pantera.
I love those bands.
I do too, but imagine that now. Imagine like the high school quarterback listening to Pantera.
Yeah. That's insane. Yeah, I'm down with Pantera. I've gone back and listened to the first Fall Out Boy record, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's always strange seeing anything that you were into when it was a subculture become, mainstream. And a lot of people in the culture obviously don't like that so much. I don't really have that weird I don't know, it feels like insecurity to me that people like make that like such a big part of their identity that I'm the only one that likes this thing, and I'm threatened if other people like it. If I think something is cool, I'm happy when other people like it.
I mean, Finn, I can't even describe to you how insecure I was and how much I sucked when I was in high school. That was one of my hundreds of shortcomings. But I agree with you now completely. It's lame.
Well, I wanted to ask you about jiu-jitsu a bit too.
Let's talk about it.
Um,
Yeah, we're both purple belts.
that's right. You're a 10-year purple belt. I'm like a 6-month purple belt. So
Yeah.
you're probably a much better purple belt than I am. Um, but
I just had COVID, so my cardio is a little suspect right now. But
how much have you been training over those past 10 years?
I have trained in spurts. The past 10 years. I was basically not training in college. And then in the middle 2010s, from 2014 to 2017, I was training really, really hard, even competing. And then I brought it back this year around March, started training again. And I've been training a lot here in LA. And basically, I've been pleased to see that I've picked up right where I left off.
Were leg locks as popular now as they were when you were at your most serious?
Yeah, leg locks, for people who don't understand, are an evolution in jiu-jitsu. The original Hoist Gracie at UFC 1 style jiu-jitsu, even up until 2011, 12,
Right.
attacking the bottom half of your opponent was not just not popular, it was seen as a type of foul. Not a literal
Right.
foul, but it was a faux pas. You were a
You can
dick.
break my elbow, but you can't break my ankle.
Exactly. And then there was a revolution where a lot of guys started attacking the legs, and traditional jiu-jitsu practitioners who had been doing it since they were toddlers didn't know how to defend. A purple belt could roll into the gym and tap out a world champion black belt because the world champion black belt hadn't devoted any time to leg locks. And now it's in competition. The leg lock dudes are the best. And I have to say that I still neglect leg locks. I do jiu-jitsu just for sport and for fun. And I don't have a lot of fun rolling for heel hooks and knee bars.
It's just it's like a whole other half of the sport, like all this the leg entanglement transitions and all that shit. I have a couple of my old training partners are, like one of them heel hooked one of Eddie Bravo's black belts in 10 seconds.
And
So,
Eddie Bravo teaches his black belts heel hooks. That's for sure.
yeah.
So that's really impressive.
So that's how good he is at heel hooks. And it's like, I train some of that stuff, but man, it's a whole other ball game. But I wanted to ask, which of the jujitsu stereotypes are you? You seem like you might be the sort of the advanced spaz that, like, when we say we're going light, you'll throw like a baseball choke on me at 110%.
You asshole. No, I'm actually, in my personal life, in all facets of it, I'm pretty much the opposite of who I am on camera. I'm the guy who profusely thanks my barista for pouring me a cup of coffee. I'm the guy who always tips big when I go to sushi. And I'm the guy in jiu-jitsu who's super, super friendly and respectful. What stereotype am I? I feel like most people would think I'm the gangly guard player, but I actually have a pretty nasty top game. My knee cut pass is like black belt level. I'm like,
Okay.
I can knee cut the shit out of people and get past their guard.
Right. Yeah. People would think the same thing looking at me, because I'm like, 5'11", 165, pretty skinny. But I'm not a big guard player either. I'm a pressure passer.
Mm-hmm.
I like to pretend I'm a fat guy.
What kind of pressure passes do you like to play?
I don't actually know the name of it. I guess they're called like weave or leg laces.
Yeah.
Like what Clay Guida does. That's
Sure.
like my icon.
Sure. You slither your arm through your opponent's legs, pin them to
Yes.
one side of his body,
Yep.
pin it with your shoulder, and
Yep.
then snake around his guard. Yeah.
That's my shit.
Yeah. I have a little more space when I pass. I do a lot of X passing.
And I like double underpasses a lot too.
See, you're getting down into the shit. That's scary to me.
Put their face. I literally put my face right on their dick, because I know it makes people uncomfortable, and it'll throw them off for a second. Like, I'm willing to have my mouth on your penis to get this guard pass.
I'll blow a guy, whatever it takes to get my 3 points.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, dude. For me, I pass with a little bit more space, a more Leandro Low style. If you watch him, he's this Brazilian guy who's out there throwing legs around,
Right.
high stepping, X passing, knee slicing. Yeah, there's a little more space in my passing, I'd say.
Got it. Well, your fake white belt video was actually the first one that I saw on some MMA forum or something. Maybe it was on like the Underground or something like that. And I didn't realize that was you until I had watched your other videos for like a couple years. I was like, oh, that's the fake white belt guy.
Yeah. I went into an academy, a local jiu-jitsu gym, wearing a white belt. And at that point, I was pretty rusty, but I was still a mid-tier purple belt. And of course, I roll with guys who are good and they think I suck and they're not giving me anything. And I start throwing up submissions and guard passes. That was the idea. And I'd seen that done on YouTube before, never well, but I saw that the videos had outrageous numbers of views. So I replicated it. And of course, it followed suit and got, I think it has 1.5 million views. And it's a really cool video, too.
Do you. I don't think this was your video, but I've been trying to find this video again for a long time. It's one of these bike prank videos where they put like a buzzer on the seat of it and then let people steal it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that wasn't me, but I've seen a lot of those videos.
There's one of those where they do one of those and the guy who they prank tries to fight him, and whoever was doing the video like clearly had trained like MMA or Jiu Jitsu because he fucks the guy up. Like, you know, just in this park. I was thinking that like the ultimate humiliation, you get pranked, caught trying to steal a bike, and then you get your ass beat right afterwards.
That is such a liability. If that guy decides, if the guy who tried to steal the bike decides to sue, I think he might have a case on his hands, even though he was trying to do something illegal.
That's probably true. How much do you think about that?
I just got off the phone with my attorney, so it's something I've definitely had to think about as I accumulate more and more money that could potentially be lost. Right. And as the channel grows, it just, as I grow, I'm having to start doing official business stuff. And California, of course, is the worst state to do any of that in.
Yes.
So it's tough. It's one of those things where it is a headache of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, but you'll be glad if anything ever does go wrong, you'll be glad you did it.
Sure.
Are you up for taking a few questions here?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm having a great time.
Well, let's let me fire up the chat widget here. See if anyone's got any questions for you here. Yeah. So, all right, drop them in the chat here, fellas and ladies, if you have any.
This is a live chat with my fans. It's probably real nasty.
Yeah. From Nipples, any self-help books or media that you recommend? Question for either of you.
Sure. I think a really, really good place to start, and this might seem corny because he's really well known, Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within is a great all-around approach to mental health and success. A lot of other books I've read have gone into various, they basically turned a chapter of Awaken the Giant Within into a full book, but Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within is like an encyclopedia for being happier and more successful. So I think that's a good one.
I cannot agree more with that. I've seen Tony Robbins live twice, and I didn't even know he has made a game-changing difference in my life twice. And I didn't even know who he was the first time. I was in college and I was debating on changing my major from graphic design to marketing. And it was like kind of a big deal because I was paying tens of thousands of dollars for this. And I didn't even know who he was. I had just downloaded some random MP3 of his onto my iPod Nano or whatever it was. And the talk that he gave was called Don't Major in Minor Things. And it just made the light bulb go off in my head. And
I'm going to pull that up right now. I haven't heard that. It sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably from 2005 or something. I was just like, it made it instantly clear to me what I needed to do. And then more recently, he was talking about answering the call, about how, like, you know, there's a message, like you hear the call, but most people, and you know what you need to do, but most people are afraid to answer the call and do what they need to do. And that's why they end up, you know, missing opportunities and ultimately taking their life in a direction that doesn't make them happy. Tony Robbins, like, go watch his Netflix documentary. If anybody like hasn't, he is not what people think. Like, people think he's some sort of like televangelist fraud or something like that. He's not what you think. I really highly recommend checking him out. Like, even if you're thinking right now, you're thinking this is bullshit, Tony Robbins is snake oil, just give it a chance. Go watch the Netflix documentary.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, man.
From FNL Chat 99, Danny, I'm 21 and I'm lost. What was your resource of peace and calm during your early 20s? Same for Finn. Greetings from Baja, California.
Yeah, it's a tough time, man, because in your 20s, I think most people haven't really accomplished anything of substance. I think there are people who go to a good college and get a good job, but I know now for a fact that a lot of those people aren't happy and really aren't truly successful. How do I know that? A lot of my friends who are making 180 grand a year at law firms have hit me up and said, "Hey man, how do I get into YouTube? I want to get into
Yep.
comedy. I'm burnt out." I've gotten a lot of those calls from people who went down the traditional path. So I think it's totally natural where you're at, first of all. I think you just need to accept that. For me, it was nice when I was 21 because I was in college and I had this artificial societal stamp of approval on my ass. So at Thanksgiving dinner and at bars in my hometown, I could tell people, yeah, I'm in college. And everybody's like, whoa, he's doing good. But then once I graduated and decided I didn't want to get a real job, that went away. And then I had to tell people I'm a busboy at the Tipsy Pig in San Francisco. And you got to be mentally strong, dude. You just have to have the self-confidence and the vision to know that your temporary struggle is going to be worthwhile. And that once you reach your 30s and in your 40s, you're going to be glad you did what you did.
Hard
Whatever
work
you're doing.
always pays off. Might take a long time. It might not work out the way you thought it would, but it will always pay off.
Yeah. And just like the book we recommended, the talk that Finn recommended by Tony Robbins, keep reading, man. I'm willing to guess that your shithead 21-year-old friends aren't real positive influences in your life. I'm willing to bet that your mom and your dad, I mean, my mom and dad are great, but they work 9 to 5 and then they come home and watch TV all weekend. They don't know a lot about achievement. So you got to start finding your own mentors, whether they be physical or in print. And you just have to have confidence. But also, you got to pick a direction too. So that can take a while. You just got to figure out what you're good at, what kind of lifestyle you would like to see yourself leading. You just have to find the intersection of all of these various things, your skill set, your dreams, your ideal life, and then you just have to confidently pick a path and go for it, despite not knowing where you may end up.
I would add to that, which you kind of touched on, surrounding yourself with the right people. If you are, I don't know who said it, some rapper, whatever, if you hang out with 9 broke motherfuckers, you're going to be the 10th.
Yeah.
And it's true. And it's not just about money. Like, I mean, it's up to you how important money is or isn't to you, but just happiness. If you hang out with unhappy, miserable, negative people, it's going to infect you, whether you intend, like, no matter how hard you try to resist it. It's like a cold. You're going to get infected eventually. And hang out with people that you might not think you would get along with. Like, for example, when I was in college, I thought that I only got along with like artsy people who liked the same kind of music and shit that I like. But then I changed my major to business and I started hanging out with a bunch of the kids in the College of Business. And I was like, these people are fucking awesome. I actually like these people a lot better than these negative assholes in the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
Fuck this shit.
It might mean a physical move. Finn, am I correct? You moved to Cleveland at one point and wasn't it complete garbage? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
See, if I'm assuming
moved from Seattle to Cleveland, and that worked out exactly the way you would guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to Cleveland. It was actually fit. The city itself was beautiful, but I don't know what the humanity is like. Yeah, man. For me, moving to a better place was big because now I have access and I have friends who make millions of dollars a month. Whereas if I stayed in my hometown, and I'm assuming the 21-year-old is lost, I'm assuming he doesn't live in Manhattan. When you get to a better place like Seattle instead of Cleveland, you meet people who have a better way of running their mind, who have better goals and aspirations and careers and incomes. And that can't help but rub off of you just by virtue of it alerting you to those things being possible for your life too.
Couldn't agree more. Another good question here from Shadow and Jabri. Question for both of you. Where do you get motivation when you were down and don't have any?
I think you need to consciously cultivate motivation all the time. That's why I have a morning routine where, like I spoke about, where I read for 30 minutes and I have a statement of purpose. I read. It's my goals, my life purpose, where I want to be in 3 years, how I'm going to get there. It's 2 pages handwritten out that I read aloud every single morning. And my desk, I have a Russell Wilson quote up here. I have a Conor McGregor one. I have the John Wooden pyramid of success being mailed to my house right now. I just believe that you have to cultivate that motivation. It's not just going to always be there.
I would say act even when there isn't motivation. I think people have the idea that you get motivated or inspired, then you do stuff. I think it's the other way around. So even if you're not feeling it, like as Jocko says, some days I just go through the motions, but I still go through the motions.
Yeah.
You know, that would be my advice. Like, don't wait for motivation or inspiration to strike. Just have a goal, have a plan, and just execute on the plan no matter how much you're not feeling it, because you know what you got to do.
100%.
From the average poser, as someone with a ton of fear when it comes to talking to people, have you guys ever had that problem, and how did you overcome it for networking or making videos?
I think it's just something you have to practice. I think if me and Finn moved into a cabin in Montana for 6 weeks and then you released us, I think we would be very socially awkward. I'm not sure that I'm naturally an extrovert. It's just something I practice a lot. I podcast almost every day in some form or another. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, one of the things I love about it, and maybe this will be helpful for whatever his name is who just asked this question, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu makes me more confident in social interactions, and it helps me filming videos too. But yeah, man, I think it's just, I think you have to get over the idea that you're going to be happiest on your couch underneath a Snuggie with a tub of ice cream watching TV. You got to get out there into the world.
That's just going to make you feel shittier and shittier. Do that occasionally, you know, that's fine. But if that becomes your lifestyle, it's going to make you feel shittier.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not like socially anxious or socially awkward necessarily. I just don't like to bother people. That's the reason why I've sometimes I'm not scared to talk to people. I just I don't want to bother them.
And dude, everybody has that. That's why there's so much turnover in sales jobs, outgoing sales calls. Everybody has that.
Fucking brutal.
It's tough. Yeah.
But here's what to do is just have a script that you follow, and you'll realize actually. So let's say you go to a networking event. Everybody there is thinking the exact same thing that you are. Like, oh, I'm glad that I'm here in this room full of people that I would like to talk to, but I don't want to talk to anybody. I sure hope somebody comes up and talks to me. Everybody is thinking that, including you. So if you go over and talk to somebody, they're going to be thrilled, and they're going to think that you are like the alpha awesome person that's like, oh my God, he or she is so confident and oh, this person must be amazing, when in reality, you're the same chicken shit that they are. So I would say just have a simple script. For example, before times when we were allowed to meet people in person, I would go to these tech meetups here because that's kind of what I'm interested in. And it's a bunch of introverted nerds, and I would just go up to people and say, hey, how's it going? I'm Finn. What brings you here? Just ask them about themselves. That's my secret kind of hack. Keep asking them, what's your company? What do you do though? That sounds interesting. What's the most challenging part about that? Oh, I've heard about this other company in your space. Are they cool? You know, just ask questions. People love talking about themselves, and they will walk away from that conversation thinking that was the coolest interaction. Now they're going to think you're so awesome and you have the best social skills, when you're going to be like, all I did was ask him questions about himself for 15 minutes. They're going to think it's and you don't have to say shit.
And also, me and Finn are giving you permission right now to go get mortally humiliated, because it's necessary to achieving success, man. I mean, I have gone on stage in front of big crowds and bombed as bad as you can bomb in stand-up. And I have had so many other failures, just bad jokes, bad videos, horrible interactions with women, with potential business partners. It's just the successful, that is the way they earn their stripes, dude. Don't judge yourself. Realize it's part of the process to go make a fool of yourself, and then just go on to the next person.
And remember, you only need to get somebody to say yes once to potentially change your life. When I was still doing printing and I didn't know, how I wanted to be a graphic designer at the time, and I had no idea kind of how to make it happen. I felt like I was going to be trapped there forever, and I would apply for jobs and get nothing. And I would, try to, I don't know, just get a meeting with anybody about anything. I never heard, I got so many no's, or I wouldn't even get a no. I would just get ignored. But eventually I did that for hundreds of times, over the course of years. And I probably made myself look pretty stupid in a lot of those because I was applying for some job I was totally unqualified for, blah, blah, blah. But eventually one person said yes. And then I got a job there and I ended up working for like Nike and Red Bull and Nintendo. And once you get like that one breakthrough, well, now I can say that I worked for those companies, and like that was the beginning of everything getting a lot easier for me. You just need one person to say yes, totally change your life. So be willing to eat shit 99 times just to get that one.
Yeah, the amount of unsolicited cold emails, direct messages, comments I sent out to big Facebook pages, to other influencers when I was in my early YouTube times. I mean, I can't even count how many times I just didn't get replied to, or they said something nasty. It's part of the process, man. We give you permission to go embarrass yourself trying.
Yep. I mean, for example, here from the chat, Jarrett X, guys, I literally asked Finn for a job that didn't exist, which is editing the stream highlights and setting up I mean, he helped me with the Twitch and Discord and stuff. I don't even remember how I met him. I met him I remember meeting him at NAMM a couple years ago, but I don't even remember. I mean, he must have messaged me or something. I don't even remember how. But we met a couple years ago, and now he's editing the streams and stuff. And this is going to be, I want this to be a really big opportunity for him.
All of my employees, Finn, either cold messaged me on Instagram or they showed up at a public function I was at. All of them. And like, they're all super great. Nico, Ian, and Austin, super competent guys. If you're competent, the world is yours.
That's all it takes.
If you just work hard,
reliable,
you can do anything you want. And my goal is just to make sure these guys are all set up in their lives too. I want my success to be their success. Just because they're competent, they reached out, they work hard for me. And if you do the same thing, you can do whatever you want.
Somebody will say yes eventually. You know, it's just a numbers game. 100 people might say no, but that's okay. Yeah, same with my podcast editor. Like, that's the person who edits my main channel videos now, which I never thought I could find somebody to edit those videos because I thought I was so special and blah, blah, blah. It was a bunch of nonsense.
I still have that mindset.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Not true.
Yeah.
I have somebody edit my main channel videos now. Same thing. He just emailed me and said, hey, this is what I do. Here's what I've worked on. I'd love to, edit your stuff. And I've gotten a bunch of emails like that before, but there was just something about, I guess, just the way he worded his that made me go,
yeah,
all right, let's try it.
Yeah.
And I'm so fucking glad he did, because that has been like life-changing for me to not be chained to that edit station, for X hours a week. So put yourself out there, just ask. I think that is the message here. All right. Well, we'll let's see. We've got time for one more question, I think. Let's see. One more question. Going through the chat here. There's one. Oh, yes. Here's one that came up a couple times, so I wanted to make sure we ask. Danny, are there any characters or skits that you thought were going to kill but didn't, or any that the fans responded to that surprised you? So basically all the many times that you thought something was going to be great, or thought something was going to be shitty, but actually it went really well.
Yeah, one of the things that people really responded to well was, I remember, Finn, you messaged me about this. We put out the pissing off liberals in San Francisco video. One of people's favorite parts in that video was the fake Bernie Sanders voter guy, which is very scripted and it's very acting heavy. And acting is my big weakness in comedy. I do not feel like I'm a good actor.
That was the best part of that video.
A lot of people
I don't know why, because it's nothing special, but just the way you did it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So no, but do you know what I mean? Like,
I'm joking. I'm fucking.
There's nothing on paper. Like if I read that, I would say, I don't know, but there's just something about the way you delivered it that was hilarious.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that a lot of people, that was their favorite part of the video. But on that same token, I did a video in Cleveland, Ohio, one of the greatest cities in America, in January, and there was another semi-acting segment at the end where we invited a girl, basically she seemed like a groupie, like she just wanted to bang me. She drove 4 hours to the Christmas Story house. That's where we were renting the Christmas Story house in Cleveland. And the idea was that she was going to show up and I was going to be all fucked up on cough syrup. It was faked. I wasn't actually drinking cough syrup, but that was the idea. We just wanted her to think I was this YouTube monster who just drank Robitussin and fucked groupies every night. And she got there, and I acted like I was all fucked up in the living room in which Ralphie unwrapped all of his presents. And a lot of fans hated it. And my editor and I, when we watched it back originally, we thought it was great. And that's something I believe in more and more now. John Wooden talks about this. I just finished a John Wooden book. Is that you are the only one who knows if you're successful. Success is a personal journey. And if you prepare to the best of your ability, I plan my shoots correctly. I'm writing. I'm making sure my performance game is good. If I do that, then what fans think of the content, I sort of have to tune it out. Because if I start only listening to fans, they might influence me in the direction of being the guy who hits on girls at college campuses. You just have to do what you believe in and prepare. And then occasionally there'll be the pleasant surprise victories of the Bernie Sanders guy. And occasionally there'll be the very hated on things like me being fucked up on cough syrup trying to bang a groovy.
Well, there you go. Danny, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Everybody go follow Danny on Instagram and check out his channel, all that. Anything else that anything else we can plug before I let you go?
Yeah, just Danny Mullen on YouTube and Danny Mullen on Instagram. And I had a great time, Finn. And I think I think this was a good resource. I hope this helps some people out who might need it.
Save the kids. All right. Well, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll run into you in person soon.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Take care.